Hope everyone is ready to get this day started. Hold on, let me get this up and running. Good morning, good morning. Excuse me. Hope you guys are ready. Hope you had a great day yesterday. Hope you're ready to get this morning started. How about this? That looks better. Good morning. Welcome to the Fearless Morning Show, where we are having confessions and conversations about your everyday life. Excuse me. Where we are having confessions and conversations about your everyday life. My name is Yamitra JoJo Waddell, the only Live Past Crazy Special. So what better place to be than here with me? And y'all know it's official. We got the trademark, so I can say my name is for real now. We are officially, according to the United States government, the only Live Past Crazy Special. So how about that? So welcome. Please make sure you share the show, because sharing is caring. I've been up since 5:30. I don't know why. I'm sleepy now. Good morning. Good morning. Please make sure you share the show, because sharing is caring. If your friends and family do not have Facebook, send them over to the YouTube channel. They can binge watch all the Fearless Morning shows over there. Y'all love my new ring. It is copper. And I got a new necklace to go with it. Isn't it gorgeous? It has crystals in it. I love this necklace. And because I love copper. Yes, my bracelets. Hope you've enjoyed the show this week. Please make sure you share. Remember, if your friends and family don't have Facebook, there is a YouTube channel where they can binge watch all the Fearless Morning shows over there. And we do have a podcast where you can, if they don't watch YouTube and they don't watch Facebook, they can listen in. And the morning show is converted immediately over to a podcast. So, good morning, Mama. You like my ring? Isn't it pretty? I know. I can hear my mama say, JoJo, I can't see that thing. I ain't even got my glasses on. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the show. So all this week, we have had some interesting topics. We talked about my hot pink story. If y'all don't know what that is, go back and watch that. That was Tuesday. Was that Tuesday? Yeah, that was Tuesday's show. That was fun. Then we talked about a breathe and stop. And then yesterday we talked about we don't need permission to make our own decisions. We was on some Bobby Brown stuff yesterday. And so I hope you went and listened to Bobby Brown yesterday after the show. Because we don't need permission to make our own decisions. Period. Thank you, Mom. So, I hope you've enjoyed the show. I've enjoyed the shows all week this week. We've had some fun. Good morning, Tiffany. I don't know why I'm yawning. I've been up bright and early this morning doing things. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the show all week. So let's go right into the quote of the day. And the quote of the day is, to be ourselves is the greatest challenge, but the simplest spiritual technique. To be ourselves is the greatest challenge, but the simplest spiritual technique. Meaning, in order for us to find ourselves, to understand who we are, we've got to know who we are. We've got to be true to who we are. Hence, yesterday, we don't need permission to make our own decisions. Trusting the knower in you, trusting that you are on the right path, that you're making the right decision. That is the simplest way to understand the divine in you. That is the easiest way. When you begin to accept yourself, that is the easiest way for you to begin whatever journey that you're on. So to be ourselves is the greatest challenge, because that's hard. Because again, we want to be like everybody else, or we want to do everything else. And, you know, we get caught up in that likability trap. We get caught up in all kinds of things. But to be ourselves is the greatest challenge, but the simplest spiritual technique. It is that simple. Accept yourself. And then we're on the journey. Go back and watch the shows this week. They have been really, really good, especially yesterday. I really enjoyed yesterday's show. All right, so here's the thought of the day. The thought of the day is Every Day. Y'all remember that song by Arrested Development, Every Day? And I love that song. I don't know why. So that's how Fearless Thought Day is every day. Every day, every single day, you have got to meet yourself where you are. You have got to acknowledge, not acknowledge, ignore whatever it is. You have to do it every single day. Whatever you choose to do or not do, you do it every single day. So every day, every day, every single day. So the attitude of it, and I wrote this out so I wouldn't forget. The quote of the day comes from Teo. Is it Teo or Tay? To be ourselves is the greatest challenge, but the simplest spiritual technique. That's our quote of the day. The attitude of acceptance is what we need to follow the divine. If we cannot accept ourselves, it is unlikely that we will be able to accept anything the divine sends our way. By accepting ourselves, we can bring great immediacy to our lives, which goes hand in hand with this quote. On this journey, wherever you are, however you started, it all begins with accepting and acknowledging where you are. When you do that, you are creating space for the divine to then lead and guide you. Because up until this point, you have been perplexed, confused, not understanding your journey, because you haven't quite figured out who you are yet, or you've been so busy camouflaging who you are that it's a lot of work to peel everything away to get down to who you really are. And some of us, frankly, we're just not up for the work. We're not up for the work, and we figured we've been living this way 40 years. Why change now? I've been doing what everybody wanted me to do this far. Why would I change now? And that can cause great strife and confusion and anger and frustration for you personally. And then it will eventually bubble out to everyone around you. The longer you refuse to accept who you are, is the longer you refuse to accept your voice, whatever that may be for you, and whatever that looks like for you. The longer you refuse to do that is the longer you separate yourself from how I want to say this without sounding crazy. The longer you refuse to acknowledge yourself as who you are and being true to what you were put here to do, the bigger the gap you have between you and the divine. And without you having true acceptance of yourself, it makes it harder for you to accept abundance and blessings from anyone else. Let's break it down simple. Let's break this down real simple. What about when someone this is how easy it is. What if somebody gives you a compliment? And I'm guilty. Let me show you how I used to be. And it was maybe 2 years ago that I finally got this. And now I'm intentional about doing this. If y'all ever meet me, you'll know. Every woman I meet, or man, period, especially if it's a brother, okay, or whatever race, I go out of my way to compliment something for that person. Girl, I love that dress. You are rocking that outfit. Your hair looks amazing. Most times it stops people in their trap because they're not expecting that. It always brings a smile to their face. The second thing that always happens is they turn down the compliment. Oh, this old thing? Oh, girl, I just threw this hair together. This purse? Oh, I got it at, a consignment store. I didn't pay a lot for it. And I don't know if we're taught, but we assume that we can't accept the smallest of compliments. Accept the compliment. And it took me years that when a brother said, sister, you look nice, for me to say thank you and not be like, oh, well, my face broke out in it. No, thank you. And y'all, when I tell you that gave me a boost of confidence that I cannot explain, but it came with that once I began to accept JoJo for who she was, once I began to accept me for who I was, that allowed space for the divine in me to then make me stronger. Okay, now I can receive more than my previous share of abundance. Y'all remember that quote? You got to get comfortable with how comfortable it can feel to receive more than your previous share of abundance. Meaning you've been blessed. Oh, the Lord blessed me last 20 years ago. And you don't think you get more. It doesn't stop just because you got one. Who told us that? But to be ourselves is the greatest challenge, but it is the simplest spiritual technique. When we begin to, every day, we have the opportunity to acknowledge ourselves. JoJo, this is who you are. Good morning, Lachey. JoJo, this is who you are. This is where you need to be. And it is the attitude of acceptance is what we need to follow the divine. If we cannot accept ourselves, it is unlikely that we will be able to accept anything the divine sends our way. You can call the divine God. You can call it universe. Put whatever word you want to stick on there to it. All the basis of it comes down to every single day. Do you accept who you are? And if you have been like me and you were years in people pleasing, years in that likability trap, then it is hard to find who you are in the midst of all of that. And so you just accept where you are right now. Because you say, well, I've been here for 40 years. I've been here for 45 years. I've been here for 60 years. I've been here for 70 years. Why would I change now? And truly, if we're honest with ourselves, we don't want to do the work to peel back the layers of our lives that we have added on because it's a lot of work. And sometimes we assume that it's not worth it. You assume that you're not worth the work to find yourself. And one of my favorite quotes by me is, I spoke a no, but I allowed a yes. I spoke a no, but I allowed a yes. And that for me means I was always saying, no, I don't like this. No, I don't want to be this way. No, I don't want to fall into this trap of doing this. But I allowed a yes every time I open up my mouth. I may have said no. I may have been screaming it from the inside. But yes is what I received. Yes is what I gave back. And so we got to, when we begin to accept ourselves, then we can allow the divine, God, the universe, whomever, to guide us and give us the direction and the power. Once we are aware of the divine in us, we become stronger. When we learn to acknowledge and use the power of the divine inside of ourselves, y'all, then it becomes essential that we understand the power and we're directing it in a positive way. We cannot know the divine without cultivating ourselves first. Y'all remember the word focus? And the C in focus is cultivating. What are you cultivating? And please don't be like JoJo. Don't speak a no and allow a yes. I spoke a no on so many things and allowed yeses to come to pass. Open up my mouth and my voice was silent. My words had no meaning to me. So how could they have meaning to anyone else? Because I didn't accept myself. So if I didn't accept myself first, then I couldn't stand flat-footed, shoulders back, chest out, head up to say, this is it. If I didn't accept myself, then that meant I could change myself every time I met someone, and that's your likability trap. I'm now conforming to all of these people. And so every time you meet me, I may be Yamitra here. I may be Louise here. I may be JoJo here. I may be Joe over here. Mama here. I may be Auntie over here. And I don't even know who I am. So how can I get mad at you for not respecting me when I don't respect me? And we are not respecting ourselves when we don't accept who we are. And yeah, it's hard work. If you've been doing it, if you've been people pleasing and you've been in the likability trap for a while, it is hard to peel back the layers. It's going to take some work. At this point, sister or brother, you have to decide if you're worth it. Now, if you don't think it's worth it, if you be like, JoJo, listen, I'm about to be 70 and I've been living this way my whole life. Who the hell am I to be changing now? Then I don't have an answer for you. There's nothing I can do for you. There's no word that can be spoken. There's no preacher who can preach. There's not enough holy oil in this world for you to, you can be deep fried in holy oil. Jesus himself could come down and touch you with the finger of love and nothing would change because your attitude and your mindset has not changed. What was given to us was free will to think. And if you insist on using, here we go. Once we are aware of the divine in us, we become stronger. So your power is sitting there, right? Is it fully activated? And if you say, yeah, Judge, I'm powerful, but what are you using your power for? Is it to override the divinity in you? Is it to override all of your greatness and not do what you need to do? We cannot know the divine without cultivating ourselves. To be ourselves is the greatest challenge, but the simplest spiritual technique. Those go hand in hand. Meaning, come on, JoJo. If you're a God's girl, and you know what? It ain't even got to be God. Put whatever religion you want in here, okay? Every story in the Bible, was the person not alone when they got the answer? When they received direction, did they not have to first be quiet? Remember, that's 5 steps to live past crazy. Number 1 is to be quiet. We cannot know the divine without cultivating ourselves. And cultivating ourselves meaning we take time to accept who we are. We take that quiet time to acknowledge what we may or may not like and decide on a decision right then. To be ourselves is the greatest challenge, but the simplest spiritual technique. Did not everybody in the Bible have a moment of solitude? Even Moses had, Moses, but Job, right? Isaiah, right? I mean, we can go down the list. The woman at the well, she came to the well by her. Let me help you with the woman at the well. She came to the well by herself. Now, if you read this story, and I didn't mean to go down Bible study way, but we're going to use this as an example. If you read the story of the woman at the well, her relationship with Jesus changes in every paragraph, every stanza, it changes. First of all, she by herself, she hot, tired, angry, frustrated. She ain't checking for nobody, first of all. She just come to get some water. Boo. She walk up and she see this man. Now listen, dog, I ain't got time to be bothered with this man. Who is you? What do you want? And then she is alone and she starts to ask questions. And the more she spends time alone, and we cannot know the divine without cultivating ourselves, right? Every second of that stanza, she begins to change her conversation. She could not have changed her conversation if she went with her friends. Because when she walked up to the well, he was just a man who was probably going to get on her nerves. He wasn't supposed to be there anyway. It wasn't the right time of day. And here he is. So she already aggravated and frustrated. But by the end of the verse, what was she telling him? Her whole entire conversation changed from beginning. And just, I think that's four stanzas that I call them paragraphs, passages. She changed everything. We cannot know the divine without cultivating ourselves first. To be ourselves is the greatest challenge, but the simplest spiritual technique. Everyone had to take time to be alone and by themselves. Period. She may not have wanted to admit what was before her or the questions that he was asking. But had she been with her friends, she would have never heard the questions. She never would have taken the time to answer them, and she never would have gotten the answer that she needed to continue on her journey. When we become aware of the divine in us, we become stronger. And when we learn to acknowledge and use the power of the divine inside of ourselves, then we become stronger. Then we have clarity. Then we can go on the journey a little bit easier. It is essential that we understand our power. And we cannot know the divine within us without cultivating ourselves. We can't. Right now, I will tell you that you're powerful, you're amazing, but you may be harnessing it and using it in the wrong direction. Right now, you're using it to just live every day. Every day. Every day. You're using it to just get by. To just, I can just feed these kids. Lord, it's Friday. If 5 o'clock would just come, and you are adjusting yourself away. And at no point have you taken time to cultivate yourself. To be ourselves is the greatest challenge. So we've got to learn to accept ourselves. It is in the accepting of ourselves that we allow space for the divine to come to us. If we cannot accept it, it is unlikely that we will be able to accept anything the divine sends our way. Another example, that's how people complain. That's how people can say, y'all know, I grew up AME Zion and Holiness. Y'all know how you used to go to the prayer bench, or you have praise and worship. No, you have testimony time. Y'all remember before revival started, they got testimony time. And even in Bible study, you got testimony time. You get up and you testify about what the Lord has done for you. And this right here, it is unlikely we'll be able to accept anything the divine sends our way if we don't accept ourselves. During that testimony time, 25 years ago, the Lord blessed me with this thing. It is unlikely we will be able to accept anything the divine sends our way. If my blessing from 25 years ago is all that I have, at what point did I stop accepting myself to receive more than my previous share of abundance? When did that happen? Some of us are hanging on to things that happened years ago because it happened and we assume that there's nothing extra that can come behind that. That's how people can complain, because they're not accepting of their current situation or of themselves to fix their current situation. So now you assume because you don't like you, and you can't begin to fathom or accept that anything other than what you already have is available to you. So that's why it doesn't come. That's why my friend, my sister, my brother, you can pray all day long. You can pray and they can lay hands on you. And you can continue to say, I'm waiting on the Lord. Or I'm waiting on this to happen. It begins with accepting yourself first so that the divine can come in. The attitude of acceptance is what we need to follow the divine. It is unlikely we'll be able to accept anything he sends our way. Here it is. In the accepting of us, we acknowledge the God in us. And if we can acknowledge that the Creator created us, and if he's perfect and he put us here to do a thing, and he's a creator and he created us, but here we are telling him what he did is not enough, that you made a mistake when you created me. So how can he bless that when you're telling him to his face that that's not true? You cannot know the divine without cultivating yourself first. You are him, he is you. He put you here for a reason. The divine, the universe, whomever you want to call it, whatever religion you want to stick onto it, they all have the same basic concept. Okay? Same basic concept. But you can't know any of that without cultivating yourself first, because all of it lies within you. And you can ignore that. And the more you ignore it, the farther away you get from the divinity in you, the divine in you. The harder it is for you to get back to it. The harder it is for you to figure it out. The harder it is for you to say, the easier it gets for you to say, I just don't know. Like, JoJo, this is hard. JoJo, you don't understand. I do. But first is the acceptance, right? To be ourselves is the greatest challenge. First, you got to accept yourself and acknowledge, here I am. There's no mistake for me being here. Every day I wake up here. Every day, as my grandpa say, I'm on this side of the living. So let me take this attitude of acceptance and begin to understand the divine that lives in me, that is guiding me to this thing. It is okay to receive more than what you have right now. Some of us don't want to be blessed beyond what we have right now because we don't want to embarrass our family. We don't want to embarrass our mama. That's why we don't accept any additional blessings. Because then your mama gonna look at you like, what did you do so good that all of this good stuff is happening to you and it didn't happen to me? And so we don't do the things. We don't cultivate ourselves. We don't allow the divine to rule us and lead us. Period. Once we are aware and you acknowledge the power of the divine that lives in you, when we learn that, when you acknowledge that and begin to accept that, man, it is an amazing feeling of the things that you can accomplish that now that you have no limits. See, now you have preconceived limits, you have preconceived ideas and notions about how it's all supposed to go down. You don't figure that part out because you've grown. And as my friend tell me, Joe, you ain't grown. I'm like, I'm almost 45, you're not grown. See, you figure you've grown, you figured it all out. But you're scared to receive more than your previous share of abundance. You are scared to receive more than what you have right now because you don't want to embarrass those around you or the people in your circle. That's why you don't want to be exceptional, because in your current community, being exceptional is to be talked about. Being exceptional is to be put down. Being exceptional is for somebody to think that you think you better than them. To be exceptional in your current situation would mean that you may not have the same friend. To be exceptional in your current situation may mean that friendships will end, relationships will end. You may have to get a new job. And because we don't want to go down that road and start to question things, we say we want change, but we really don't. We want some miraculous event to happen, to come and make the change happen, and then everyone around us happy that the change happened. And it don't work that way. Sometimes, but not often. And you've got to be okay with that. And some of us are not. That's why we're in the habit of waiting. That's why we're stuck. That's why we don't understand. That's why the journey is hard. It is harder because we're not accepting of ourselves. It is hard. As Grant Cardone, it is harder to live small than it is to live great. Meaning, you are made from greatness, but you insist on squeezing yourself into a little bitty box that doesn't fit you. But because you want to fit in with your current community, you do that. And you're doing more damage by living small than you are by living great. You're not doing anybody any favors. You're not helping mama on her journey. You're not helping your sister. You're not helping your children. You're not helping anybody that comes in contact with you by living small. And y'all know what one of my friends just got really upset with me. And we can have this conversation, and I respect you being upset. Because my thoughts And we're all entitled to our thoughts, where we say we make sacrifices for our family. And this was something I had to come to realize from his confession and conversation. I know we talked about this before. Confession and conversation from JoJo. When I said I was sacrificing for the girls and I took jobs that didn't demand as much from me, but they also didn't pay me. Or I was sacrificing for the girls and I did this. Was I really sacrificing for my girls? Or was I sacrificing myself and not demanding more of myself? Was I saying, JoJo, you're really not exceptional. You're kind of mediocre, so don't go all the way out so you can say you're sacrificing by not doing. Are you really sacrificing by not starting that business and working a job, and then our kids see us come home and complain, and they hear before they see what we're doing? And they hear us talk about people and what we hate and what we don't like. And it becomes a habit for them. And so we think we're making a sacrifice by doing this for them so that we can give more to them. But are we really? Are you really? Or does it come to the point where you haven't accepted yourself and that you're qualified to be exceptional, and you're nervous because of your community, so you're insisting on living small even though you're meant to live great on purpose? Are you really sacrificing? To be ourselves is the greatest challenge, but the simplest spiritual technique. We cannot know the divine without cultivating ourselves first. And once I realized that I wasn't really sacrificing for the kids, I just wasn't taking responsibility for the things that I know that I needed to do. I wasn't willing to do that yet. Oh, I was sacrificing. Wait, because I could be home by 5, and my kids was miserable because I was miserable. I was passing it down to them. And when I began to accept JoJo more, and I understood the power that I was harnessing, how it was leading and guiding me, then things begin to change. I promise it will. But first is the acceptance, is your attitude of acceptance of yourself. Then you can begin the journey. And I ain't saying that that's easy. I will never tell you that this journey is easy. I will tell you it is fun and it is exciting when you're getting to know yourself and you're getting to move and walk in what you thought about. Because this is your safe space. This is your superpower, is your mind. And as you begin to allow your mind to be free and you begin to accept yourself and understand that once you accept yourself, it makes room for the divine to increase in you, because that's all that's waiting on. You got to acknowledge it first. It's standing there waiting. Like a little kid pulling on your shoulder. Mama, 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 mama. Your kids ever do that? Nonstop? They are demanding your attention, but you're busy, and so you're ignoring them. The divine is doing the same thing. Hey, JoJo, excuse me. Hey, JoJo. And it may be getting your attention by the headaches you have, the frustration that you have, the need to. And this is how I knew it was something I needed to figure out. Have you ever had the feeling of, I can't quite put my finger on it, like, I'll know it when I see it. Y'all ever felt that way? Like, I want something to eat, but I don't know what it is yet. I'm feeling some type of way, but you can't put words to it yet. You're looking for something in your spirit, in your heart, in your soul, but you can't quite put your finger on it yet. Ta-da, here it is. To be ourselves is the greatest challenge, but the simplest spiritual technique. That's you as a kid trying to get your attention. That's you throwing rocks at the little animal so it'll look your way. That's the divine trying to get your attention to say, hey, if you can begin by accepting yourself and the greatness and the power that you have in you, then we can change this world. And for me, it was that I can't quite put my finger on what needs to change. I don't know what it is. I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't like how I'm feeling. I don't like my current situation. And when I got quiet, number one, and I began to accept myself, number two, then, y'all, the journey becomes fun then. And some of us, we're stuck in that hard spot. We're stuck right there in that little space where we don't want to, because we've been doing it for so long. Why would we change now? Because it's been working for you, quite honestly. It's been working for you for a long time. And you see no reason to change. Like you have a good job. You can provide for your family. You can, if your mom and daddy need something, you can do that. But is what's feeding your soul? Is there still something there that you can't quite put your finger on, that you say, I don't know what's missing? That thing that just pulls on your shoulder all the time, you can't quite figure it out. That's it. That's when you know you need to be quiet and listen to yourself and allow the answers to come. You got to allow the divine to speak in you first. It cannot and it will not if you're busy. And why would it speak if you're not going to accept it? If we cannot accept ourselves, it is unlikely that we will be able to accept anything the divine sends our way. That's how people can give you gifts and you can complain. Because you don't accept yourself. That's how you can complain about everything in life and see no good in the world. To be ourselves is the greatest challenge. I welcome you on your journey. I hope you figure that part out. That is the scary and fun part. But y'all, at 40, I kind of got it. 43, honey, I told y'all yesterday, them belly shirts hit. The belly shirts and waist beads. And I've been unstoppable. The nose ring and the tattoo. I've been unstoppable. I began to understand that I was qualified to be exceptional. And my current community may not have been able to handle that. And that was okay. It did not mean I had to change to meet my current community standards. It meant I needed to find another community. Good morning. The attitude of acceptance is what we need to follow the divine. If we cannot accept ourselves, it's unlikely we will be able to accept anything the divine sends our way. By accepting ourselves, we can bring great immediacy to our lives. Meaning the minute you begin to accept and understand this is you and this is your journey, things start to change immediately. That I can guarantee you. Because your mind is so powerful. I don't want y'all to forget that. Once we are aware of the divine in us, we become stronger. When we learn to acknowledge and use the power of the divine inside of ourselves, y'all, it is what you can achieve is limitless. It is essential that we understand our power and that we direct it in the right way. And we cannot know the divine without cultivating ourselves. The first step to live past crazy is to be quiet. And in the being quiet is where you find yourself. That's when you start to cultivate who you are, and your relationship with the divine begins to grow. Whether you call it the divine, God, universe, whatever religion, all of them require that you sit down and be quiet. All of them require that you become your true self. All of them require for you to acknowledge the power that was given to you for a reason. All of them require that you use your power for good. All of them require something from you. To be ourselves is the greatest challenge, but the simplest spiritual technique. Your mind is your superpower. This is your superpower. And I want you to use it today by changing your attitude. And then when you change your attitude and you begin to accept yourself, you know that you're qualified to be exceptional. Period. You're powerful beyond. You can't even begin to imagine now the power that you have to change your world and the ones that come after you. Remember we talked about the roots and planting in the trees week before last? You have no idea what you're doing. You have no idea the impact that you're having on future generations when you accept yourself. Because when you do that, you are impacting the whole legacy of your name. Because if you look now, did your great-grandma not impact your life today? Don't you make your macaroni like her? Do you not clean your house like your mama? Do you not fold your towels like your mama? Do you not shell peas and preserve things like your great-great-grandmama taught everybody in the family how to do? That is them impacting legacies and future generations, and they ain't even here. So what do you think you're doing? Every day you leave a legacy. Every day, every day, every day. Everything that you do, everything that you say, you're building a legacy for those who come after you. So I'm off my soapbox today. I don't know why I don't know where that came from. I hope it has helped somebody. I hope it's helped somebody. The fearless thought of the day is every day, every day, every day. The quote of the day, to be ourselves is the greatest challenge, but the simplest spiritual technique. Can you meet yourself today? Go stand in the mirror. And y'all, I do stuff like this, and you may say, JoJo crazy. Okay. Hey, JoJo, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Because you've been hiding in there so long that you have no idea that you're in there. And you may cry. The first time I did that, I cried. Because one, I was like, JoJo, this is insane. But two, because I felt me talking to me. I felt the divine saying, okay, now we're getting somewhere. Now, girl, we about to start this thing. Now we about to get it popping. Now we about to get it started. So try to exercise today. Go to me and say, hey, JoJo. And you know what? You can say, like yesterday or every day, you can say it's my fault. JoJo got me in here talking to the darn mirror. That girl crazy. I am the only Live Past Crazy specialist. But I promise it's going to help you. It's going to help you think differently about yourself. So the attitude of acceptance is what we need to follow the divine. If we cannot accept ourselves, it is unlikely that we'll be able to accept anything the divine sends our way. Which leads me to my wonderful quote by my friend Carolina Perez. We have to get comfortable with how uncomfortable it can feel to receive more than your previous share of abundance. You deserve more. It is there to receive more. You've got to accept yourself first. And in accepting of yourself, y'all, you are acknowledging the power of the divine within you. And when you acknowledge the power of the divine in you, now you're able to use it to change the world, to change lives. It is that simple. To be ourselves is the greatest challenge, but it's the simplest of spiritual techniques. Again, there is no one in the Bible that had any change when there was thousands of people around. Not one person in the Bible had great change when there was everybody around. They first had to change in their thought process. And then, here's your gift will make room for you. Then their gift was shown to the world. But first, they had to acknowledge the superpower of their mind to change what they saw, to accept themselves first. When you accept yourself, you acknowledge the divine in you. And everyone in the Bible, everyone in every religion had to have some quiet time. They had to have some time alone to think that thing out. So on this wonderful day, have some quiet time. Acknowledge who you are. Begin to accept yourself. Receive your power this day. Okay? You absolutely deserve more. Whatever book or religion you subscribe to, they all say you can have more. The Bible says, how much more? If he takes care of the birds and the fowls of the air, how much more? Pleasure. Pleasure, it makes him happy to do for me, just like he do for the birds in the air. We got to acknowledge the power that we have. The divine lives in us every day, every day, every day. We've got to acknowledge that power, and then we can begin to change the world. It is that simple, boo. I promise. So I hope this has helped someone today, guys. Let me tell y'all something. This is not how I meant for the show to go. This was not how I meant for the show to go this morning. I had a totally different way that I wanted to go. But hopefully this helped somebody. Even if it just helped me. Listen, we cannot know the divine without cultivating ourselves. Period. What are you growing? What are you paying attention to? And once we're aware of the divine in us, we become stronger. When we learn to acknowledge the power and understand it, y'all, we can change this world. That's how I can say I'm going to be my sister's keeper. And I can't think I'm going to change the world. I know I will, because I got to acknowledge the divine in me that's going to allow me to do that, right? Because it says to be ourselves is the greatest challenge, but the simplest technique. So if I know on the simplest level, if I can help one sister who can tell her family, and everybody in her family would go tell somebody in the community, and they would tell their family, and they would tell their family, we will change this world one sister at a time. And it's that simple, but yet we seem to make it that complicated. I am my sister's keeper. I am the only live past crazy specialist, and I cannot do that assuming that I don't have the divine leading and guiding me. And it's not, I don't want you to think that people are arrogant in that, or that you have to be arrogant. You have to be extremely humble to understand that power, to drive it and allow it to drive you and to direct you where you need to be. You have to be humble, period. You got to be humble, but you got to respect the power that was given to you. And you got to use it for what it was put here for, period. And if you do not do that, it will be to the detriment of your own health, right? We cannot know the divine without cultivating ourselves. And once we understand and become aware of our power that lives within us, y'all, then we can change this world. That's why when I say please share the show, because sharing is caring, that's how we change the world, one sister at a time, one brother at a time, one woman at a time, period. But you got to share it first. Why have information to help someone and you not share it? We're not information hoarders. The attitude of acceptance is what we need to follow the divine. And if we cannot accept ourselves, it's unlikely we'll be able to accept anything the divine sends our way. So let's make room for that today. You are qualified to be exceptional this day. Never close your mind to an idea simply because it's miraculous. Boo, the miraculous idea was given to you for a reason, because you have the power to do it. You got to acknowledge it first. And the acknowledgement is accepting of yourself. When you accept yourself, you can acknowledge the power that is miraculous, and it is you who is going to do it. Y'all, let's not make this complicated. First step is to be quiet. Accept yourself. Okay. I hope you have an amazing day. I hope this has helped somebody. If it has, please make sure you share the show, because sharing is caring. If your friends and family do not have Facebook, send them over to the YouTube channel. They can binge watch all the Fearless Morning shows over there. If they don't listen to any of that, I do have a podcast. Everywhere podcasts are found, Apple, Android, Stitcher, wherever they are, you can find my podcast. This will be a podcast in just a short hour or so you can share it with them. Yeah, I want you to be peaceful, period. There's nothing after that. Be peaceful, period. Absolutely, you have the power. Everybody has that power. It's up to you to acknowledge and accept it. Y'all know the quote, you have not because you ask not. When you ask amiss. That simply means you ask, but you ain't believing you gonna get it. But you asking because somebody told you to ask. Accept yourself first. Thank you, Tiffany. I appreciate you, Tiffany. I'm going to call you because I want to figure out how you make that stuff. The dishwash, the laundry stuff. So on this wonderful day, I hope you have an amazing weekend. I want you to be peaceful, period. I want you to be great. Can you please be amazing this day? That's all. Acknowledge your power. All right, guys. Hope you have an amazing one. And I'll see you guys here bright and early on Monday morning. Have a good one.